slowly, and it spins southwesterly, and it expands itself out. It decays. It keeps decaying until you get 4 magnetic waves that hit each other at 120-degree angles. At that point, they reconvert back into the electric field, and then they make their way back to their source again, whether it's the star, whatever star it came into. What happens when we get older? We expand at our equator, right?
My God.
At the top, because the electric force is pushing in and condensing, and the magnetism expands out at the equator. The
I don't know what
electron
to say.
field, the electrons, that's just discharged electricity, devitalized electricity, coming from the sun, coming from the earth. It's the waste product from it. But it hits our magnetic field, and then it gets pulled right back in and gets compressed again, and now it becomes electricity for the earth, and then it pushes itself right back out again at the equator. The equator is 5 miles wider than the poles. Electricity, Einstein left that out of his equation because he coupled electricity and magnetism together and didn't realize that electricity was the equal and opposite of magnetism. Electricity being the contracted field. You breathe in, that's a contracted thing. You breathe out, that's a magnetic thing, a radiative thing. But they use the term magnet as an attractor. But to magnify something means to what? Make it larger. Increase the space. That's the work of radiation. That's what Walter Russell was talking about all those years. That's the work of radiation. It's the electricity between the things that pull them together. The Coulomb force that supposedly opposites attract and push each other away. If that was true, then hot air and cold air would seek each other out. They're the same substance, but just but in a different state. One is, they move in opposite directions from each other. Hot water and cold water move in opposite directions from each other. The reason 2 magnets seem like the North Pole is attracted to the South Pole because if you had 2 rivers or 2 holes, 2 hoses with water coming out of them, and you pointed them at each other, what are they going to do? They're going to be pushing against each other. But they align to where the male enters the female and is able to come out. So they've been fooled by their senses. They've been fooled by their eyes and have missed the whole picture of it. Are you familiar with Khalil Gibran? Yes.
Holy moly.
He wrote The Prophet.
I don't even know what to say.
But he wrote another book called Sand and Foam. In that book, he told a story of
my
man
God.
who had been away from his family for
How are you
months
doing
working.
that?
And he was excited to come home, and as he was coming home, he knew that the mountain, when he saw the mountain, that he was close to home. So his 5 senses started having a conversation, and his eyes said, I see a mountain, I see a mountain, I see a mountain.
This is
and so
incredible.
the ears perked out and said, I don't hear a mountain. The nose sniffed and said, I don't smell a mountain. The tongue tasted the air, I don't taste the mountain. And the other 4 senses started speaking among themselves, and they came to the conclusion that there must be something the matter with the eyes, because they couldn't perceive it. But all of these things, we've been misled just because we've been fooled by our senses. Our eyes see 0.05% of the entire electromagnetic wave. We're blind cosmically, but we judge everything by what we see. And we've done that with science for so many years. You look at E equals MC squared. That talks about expansion. It does not show how it's divided. If you've never breathed in twice without breathing out. You breathe in and you breathe out. You charge and you discharge. There's no. So how is it that the breathing, they're acting as if the universe is just expanding out, breathing out, and it's going to dissipate out, and they never include the contractive side of it, breathing in. Because they were misled by Newton, who said everything moves in a straight line and that's affected by something else. And we know that not to be true. But they built the entire two-dimensional plane, the Euclidean space that we live on, that we work on, that we try and define curved nature by two-dimensional space. And we never include the curvature, the breathing in, like Alan Watts said,
Oh my
no
God.
one would be attracted to a Euclidean woman because she would just be straight. All straight lines. It's the wiggliness, it's the curvature that brings the balance. Everything has to have the balance. You know, the electric side and the magnetic side. I can talk about it, but I can show you even better. If you can
Can I stop you there?
This is
The concept of the periodic table, the way the periodic table
Absolutely.
conventionally is addressed.
This is.
Do they address these things as being isolated or intertwined?
I don't know
they
anyone.
interact, but they feel that carbon will always be carbon, and it will have its half-life and keep breaking down, but it still be carbon. They don't understand. It unwinds and becomes nitrogen.
We have two phones going here.
Nitrogen unwinds and becomes oxygen.
So the periodic table, the conventional use of the periodic table, and what is this other gentleman's name again?
Walter Russell.
Walter Russell's version of the periodic table. How is Walter Russell's version of the periodic table perceived
This
by
is
people who study
just
this?
Well,
absolutely
now everyone
crazy.
wants to use it. If you can go to in my book, there's a picture of Einstein reading Walter Russell's first book, second book, The Universal One. Because when Walter wrote this in 1926, he sent it out to 300 different universities and physicists. And one of the quotes that Walter Russell said, that Einstein says on his deathbed, I should have spent more time reading Walter Russell's work. That's how, and now they're taking it under their wing. But remember the Michelson-Morley experiment from 1887. They were trying to prove whether there was an ether or an effect of ether, or the quintessence that everything is. That used to be called the fifth element. That everything that from antiquity, everyone understood that something doesn't come out of nothing. It's like when you look at the air, it looks clear, but you change the pressure condition, the balance of the change in pressure condition, we call that condensation. It creates clouds, and you change the motion conditions, whether it's moving quickly or slowly, it's going to become snow, it's going to become rain, it's going to become hail. So everything comes down to just one of two forces. Either you're breathing in, filling up something, or you're pouring it out. But the scientists, they ignored Walter Russell's work because he didn't include any equations inside of it. He talked philosophically regarding how things behave in comparison to laying down and following Newtonian or calculus and writing. You know, he said he based things based on let's explore it naturally, and that's what I did with my book. Once what Walter Russell was missing, he didn't have wave conjugations. He didn't have the near shapes, the all shapes, and that was because of a mistake that was made 6,000 years ago. They took the flower of life, which was that symbol. If you could go to my book, tcotlc.com, there's an example that I put in there.
This is.
On page 64.
Do you understand all of it?
And I showed
Does it
the
make
I
sense?
showed the
No, I just feel like I'm there.
Wow.
I feel like I'm him
Wow.
doing an interview, and it just comes out. It's so weird.
You'll see in there the mistake that they made because they believed in straight lines. Because the church
like-
was promoting the idea.
I picture myself sitting there
Right below there, there's
saying what he says, and it's just coming out.
Just go to the
That's
center
amazing.
of the page,
That's
and right
amazing.
above that.
I think that's the same thing I did with Bashar.
Right. Only then,
And if you go
You
to
couldn't
page
speak?
64,
then,
On the right side of the
Right.
page,
But
right there,
now-
on the left side of the page, you see
well, you were in trance then.
5 Platonic solids.
But
Now
now,
these, all
you're
of our
awake.
axioms,
Yeah.
all of our
doing it
postulates
awake.
have been built off of these things. This is what Euclid went down to.
I wonder if you
to
can do
equal
this with
crazy.
these
anyone.
things together. Pythagoras
Can you
worked
do this
on
with
it,
anybody?
And these were the undisputed
You
I
think?
don't know.
oracles of God that he
Jeez.
used.
Probably,
If
but
you tap onto the flower of
it's like
life,
I just
Platonic
picture
solids
sitting
things,
there
it's gonna take you to a
That
point
is
of
insane.
being,
don't have to
basically being him.
Being
show you
him.
the flower of life.
Because
And then it just
That
Well,
comes
came to
out.
this
all
from. But
the
you'll see
same.
that instead of following the natural
Gosh.
curvature of these 64 circles overlapping, they
They
averaged the
average.
space where
Let's
they
see what
met.
this is. Let's see.
And
You're
they
showing the flower of
invented
life.
straight lines.
Joe Rogan's
Why
like,
did they do that?
Because they believed that the world
you
was
don't think he
flat.
knows what he's talking about.
They believed that the
I-
world was flat.
I don't know what he's talking
And the church promoted
I mean,
Pythagorean theorem comes off of this cube, a squared plus b squared equals c
C
So they
squared.
wanted to use all of these intertwining circles and create straight lines.
Because that's
That's
how
how
they
they-
thought
everything
everything came
would-
down to straight lines.
Yeah.
They thought the world was flat.
Flat.
I was like, oh my goodness.
They
didn't
didn't know
open the
the
flower
flower
properly.
properly.
So the next one would be the icosahedron.
Now, the flower of life, it's very, very old. The concept is very
It's like
old.
you're
What was the
projecting your
origin of the concept?
It's the oldest symbol
consciousness.
known to
Percent-
mankind.
Mhm.
It's believed that it was Anki, the brother
Brother
of
of
Leo,
Leo.
if you go by the Emerald
Sumerian
Tablets.
text.
Yes,
Sumerian
in text.
that
That
was the
was
one that created
created.
mankind. Because if you look at mankind, and there's a point I want to make with it.
I told
I
you,
want
I
you
was
to
feeling
stay on
so,
the book, go back
so
to the
crazy
page,
energy.
Go to 134 of the
Four.
book.
It
And
is
this
it's definitely
what
coming
that
out.
other gentleman
gentleman
being
being
told
told
me to do.
me
It said, why don't you just take
take
the
the
pieces
pieces
that
of
make up the flower and
and
put them together
together
based on universal
universal
ratios.
ratios.
So
Quote.
if you once you're able to pull it up, page
134.
It's like
134
134.
of the book. So this
This
is the juxtapose
it's a
of the
recording.
mistake they made. Yep, just tap right onto that. Yep,
Yep,
It doesn't
that's
matter.
right.
Now, this was made by David Johnson.
doesn't
one of our
matter, that's
programmers,
recording.
Argos Fuel. So
You
if
told-
you go to the far left and tap,
Tap
on
on
that,
that.
this is, I took 4 of those
Wow.
triangles. And,
And
wow.
My
And you can
God.
scroll around.
You
This
just
is
said
what happens
and.
when 4
What did he
bubbles
say?
hit. This is the negative,
Negative
space,
space.
where they can't touch each other.
oh,
Oh, here. Well, shit,
I
I don't know how to skip it. I don't know how to skip it. Oh my God. Okay.
This is hydrogen. And as I was saying,
that threw me off.
electricity is always
know.
trying to get to the
I think you'll
center
just sync
of
right back
that
up.
triangle. But it
It's
gets pushed
it's
out.
like telepathic
And now you see it has 4
connecting,
contractive poles, which is the electric poles.
even
Just
though
go
it's
around
not
it,
live.
horizontally, yeah.
It is
has
like
4
what you did with the
contractive poles, 'cause
shark, but,
electricity is seeking a higher pressure condition.
I don't know.
but it's
forcing
not
it in.
live.
I don't
Where
know, man.
magnetism
It's
This
seeking a
is
lower pressure condition.
wild.
It's spun out. So
So-
the vortices, those tips,
I wonder if
that's
this
the magnetic field. That's where they
is
begin.
going to be in your.
But it has an equal
This knowledge
attractor and an equal amount
is
of
gonna be in your
repulsion. So
brain
if you go
because
to what happened
this is
when 8 bubbles.
obviously
They gave me the
pretty
patents about
advanced.
that detection.
pretty. Well,
This is-
this
So this is the negative
is
See,
like
the- and-
awakening stuff,
The
right?
crazy thing about this is, you know, because he used to be on the Empire show, right?
And this is
And then they said he started going crazy, but he's not crazy. He just
No, he just awakened.
right, and I don't even think he even acts no more because he don't want to, because
Right.
it's to him it's just stupid now, really.
Right.
Like,
Well, he's obviously like highly
and
intelligent.
they trying to call him crazy because they don't understand the word he's talking about when he talk about shit like this.
Right. Well, Joe Rogan is obviously like, what the F
Yeah,
are you talking about?
I know Joe Rogan don't know what the fuck he's talking about,
No.
but he's still listening.
Yeah. But he,
Now you see that there has
He's
these
smart.
huge bubbles, fast moving, but there's 6 strong.
I
spheres
am
that's
completely
going around
lost
it,
at
but
this
the
point.
greater attractor
Well, I must have
has
been watching
grabbed
you.
two weaker attractors.
I
And
can't.
this looks just like a photon, and guess what? It has
It looks
30
just like,
poles.
of course it does.
What is the speed
Just
of
like a
light?
photon.
299 299 million.
Rogan's like, why?
See?
Don't know what you're
See
talking
what I
about.
mean?
Yes, absolutely.
He's like, what the
He's
fuck?
like, what on
If you look
earth
at it from the top, you'll see
is
that
happening?
I haven't violated anything. This
Oh
looks
my
like
God.
what happens in nature.
Okay,
So
his
it's like,
mind
okay,
is-
so they gave me the patents to this,
is
but you'll see that there's
connected.
six
Yeah, he's like,
He is
electrical
linked.
poles to it. So I was like, what happens
God
with 12
dang
bubbles
it.
mean if you go to the one right next to it?
Jesus. There's 4 of
How
them.
does he know?
Another stable structure
Stable struggle.
What
that
does
we
he know
basically
then?
see in nature, but there's 4
Four?
unaccounted electrical poles to it. 4 spin around it. You can count those 4. You'll
It's
see
just
1
like,
at the bottom,
what?
3 on those sides.
Yep.
This is
Does
the
this make
basis of
sense to you?
crystallization, laws of crystallization.
It's crystallization.
That formed. And you can go to the
Really?
last one. I was like, what happens when 24 bubbles meet? This is a negative space. If you pull to a horizontal on it,
It has to do
this
with
is a negative space with 24 bubbles.
crystallization.
This is
Tetrahedron.
where you cannot distinguish
wow.
this from the background because all of the electrical potential has been
Spread.
accounted for.
Yes.
This would be
Jeez
the
Louise.
Bose-Einstein condensate, where something becomes indistinguishable from the fabric of space itself, the final state of matter. Something, and the proof of this, the Platonic Solids, they have a thing called
How
discrete
many
symmetry.
times have we
You
heard
can put the cubes
the
together,
Platonic
you can
solids
put the
today?
dodecahedrons together,
know.
but you
All
can't
day
put
long?
all
We've
of them
heard that
together.
term.
But
You can
take
take.
the wave
Right.
conjugations right here, and they form supersymmetrical systems where everything aligns. So there's a site
Solid.
that James sent over to you, and this will be the final thing, and then I'll be quiet. Find this
I
right
think
here.
he's blown
Now,
everyone.
these are other sculptures. A video, and you'll see that flower.
Oh my
If you'll
gosh.
pop it up from Terry's linchpins that he
Baby,
sent you,
you have an
you will
amazing
see,
gift.
and that
Oh,
this
really?
is one of 4 supersymmetrical systems that I patented. And
Oh
the reason
shit.
I patented it was because
He
when
patented
Walter
that
Russell
shit.
put his stuff up. Yep, just scroll down a little bit, and
Dang.
we're gonna get to
He
gravity.
did
Not
what?
that one. We're gonna get to gravity in a second.
He said he
Not that one.
patented it,
Yeah.
like-
Oh, that's the patents
Tetrahedral
he was
wave
talking
conjugations.
about.
Now these are all of those systems put together. This is where 12 bubbles meet the Albrians. And then I put 5 of them together and they make these natural starfish. But then
Son
when I
of a
put 10 of them
bitch.
together,
What is he?
they lay themselves out and they predict all
All
the distribution of matter
Uh-huh.
within the electric field.
Matter.
And you can see where 6 bubbles meet as you get to a higher point. On it, those where 6 bubbles are meeting, still fitting perfectly where the 12 bubbles are meeting, and where the 4 and where the 8. That's a supersymmetrical
Supersymmetrical.
system. I put
They all connect.
12. If I put 20 of those where 6 bubbles meet, the Antonians, they make a natural dodecahedron.
I knew it.
Naturally curved.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Tetrahedron.
A tetrahedron.
That's
I
where
knew he
get
was
the
gonna say
dimension
that.
from. Ultimately,
I'm
from
not-
some of those
I'm not
pieces right
surprised
there, but
that
also
you knew
of it.
that.
So that was
Gosh.
one of
One-
the first things. But when Walter Russell came out with his book and he introduced his periodic table, he watched as
never done.
different people went up and collected Nobel Prizes for deuterium, for tritium, for all these things that he had discovered.
Already.
And I was like, okay, let me wait until the patents
There's
are
no
granted
way that this is not important
before I'll talk about it.
because you
Uh-huh.
haven't done this with anything
Won't be
else.
able to stop
Alright,
it.
I'm gonna
So
stop for now.